Welcome once again. I'm back here for the leadership conversation, and as is consistent with our tradition, give me a wave if you are here. High five if you are here. Announce your presence for today's session of the leadership conversation. Remember, today we are talking about enterprise level leadership, how to develop effective leadership at the enterprise level. Enterprise level leadership, how do we develop effective leadership at the level of the enterprise? We began our conversation in recent times or on recent days on the essential role that leadership plays at the individual level, at the family level, and then at the societal level. But tonight we are looking at effective leadership at the enterprise level, effective leadership at the enterprise level at the organizational level, at the company level. Okay, so how do we make sure that there is effective leadership at the enterprise level? And why do we have to talk about enterprise at all in the first place? Now, we know that in a country, in every country, the collective output of the country is made up of what the various business organizations or the business entities in the country produce altogether. Okay, so these business entities may be individuals working as individual producers or manufacturers in their homes, petty traders, sole proprietors, and then those who are into partnerships, small business units, small private organizations, what we call limited liability companies, then public liability companies, public sector organizations. We're talking about government institutions, we're talking about the ministries, we're talking about the departments, we're talking about the agencies, we're talking about the municipal assemblies, district assemblies, the local assemblies, and all of that. Then we're talking about churches, we are talking about institutions, other institutions that involve human beings. We're talking about all of these together. So when we refer to enterprise, these are the group of entities that we are talking about. So how do we make sure that leadership becomes effective at these levels? Those who are arriving, welcome. Thank you very much. George is here, Kwesi is here, and a few others are here. So thank you for joining us this evening. How do we become effective at the enterprise level? And why is it important to talk about the enterprise? Like I said, the enterprises combine to determine the collective source of productivity for the country. So in a country where productivity level is low, it is so because the enterprises are not producing at their highest capacity. In other words, the enterprises might be inefficient, they might be ineffective, they might be underproducing, they might be underemployed, there might be inefficient management in these institutions, and so these institutions might not be delivering their mandates as they are supposed to be doing. And so it's important to look at leadership at this level. Okay. Now, in terms of structure, the structure of every, ideally, not every one of them, but ideally, every enterprise has a board. That's a very top level entity that manages the affairs of the enterprise. And so that's the board, the organization's board. Okay, and then so the board is there at the very top, represent the organization's owners, and then takes very top strategic decisions on behalf of the organization, serves as a body that has fiduciary role, okay, a role that they are playing or they are acting, they are operating on behalf of the company owners, but they are supposed to represent the company owners to be able to make sure that the organization is going to where it's supposed to go, that the organization's leaders, top management, executive management are moving the organization to the right direction. So that's what boards are meant to be. That's the responsibility of boards. Okay. Now, then we have the executive management, who is a top management, out of which we have the CEO or the MD, executive director, whoever you call them, and their assistants or their deputies, etc. Now, and under them you have the heads of the various divisions or departments, however you call them, and then you have other lower management or other middle level management, and then other lower management like supervisors and team leaders and so on and so forth. And then you have operational staff. So when we talk about leadership in the enterprise, these are the things that we are talking about. These are the things that we are talking about. Now, the failure or success of every organization will depend on its leadership. I have made a point over and over again that nothing starts or nothing happens without leadership. Nothing changes without leadership. There is no progress without leadership. Leadership sets the limit to growth and progress of every organization. So if you want to realize growth, you need to grow the leadership. Now, otherwise, you need to change the leadership or there can be no growth. See, that's the thing. And so in every organization, in every enterprise, the board is the key entity that's involved in decision making. But the board, it's supposed to do basically three things, play three different roles. Number one, to have vision, and number two, to have exercise enterprise, and number three, to exercise oversight. So vision, enterprise, and oversight. I'll talk quickly about these ones. Now, vision is about the future, ability to create the future of the organization, look into the future of the organization and try to envision a future direction for the organization, a future reality for the organization, and then you create that, make that vividly clear to everybody so that people can be aligned to move into that future. It might be to change some things, it might be to move into new markets, it might be to do operations in different ways, it might be to change technology, it might be to change the product line or anything, but it might be to change the brand of the organization. It might be to build new infrastructure, etc. But that's vision, creating something for the future of the organization. So you don't keep replicating the successes of the past and keep wallowing in pride based on your former glory. That's what many organizations do. They just look at what they did in the past and they take pride in it. They are not able to move the organization to the future. But the board is supposed to exercise vision. Okay, vision. Moving the organization to where they are supposed to be going. And when they create a vision properly, then they create a direction for the organization's senior management. They'll create direction for the organization's senior management if they're able to live by vision and to operate by vision. Now, in addition to vision, the board is supposed to exercise what we call enterprise. Now, they are required to exercise what you call enterprise. Now, what is enterprise? It's a very interesting word. First and foremost, enterprise is an organization. Okay, it's an organization, but it also means the ability to organize. Okay, the ability to organize, but it also means being enterprising. and entrepreneurial. The entrepreneurial function is able to combine all the resources, or what we call in basic economics, the entrepreneurial function is able to combine all the factors of production: land, capital, and labor. So the enterprise there refers to the ability to mobilize all resources that are at their disposal in order to realize the objective of the organization. Yeah, and it's about being business oriented. It's about being business minded. It's about having the competency to manage business. It's about understanding the nature of the business. It's about understanding how businesses create value. It's about being strategic. It's about being able to create a strategic a goal and be able to create a strategy for the organization and run and move the organization or lead the organization based on strategy. It's the ability to foresee opportunities and take advantage of opportunities so that they can create more and more and more and more value to or for the organization's shareholders. So that's basically what enterprise is about. So they understand the business. They are competent. They know how to create value. They know the things to focus on. And they are not just occupying the role because someone has asked them to occupy. They are not just occupying the role just because they have to take sitting allowances or to attend conferences and get paid allowances, but because they understand what it means to organize a business. And then the third one, which is a very interesting word, is oversight. Oversight means so many things. First and foremost, it means the ability to look forward, the ability to exercise due care, so that whilst you are being entrepreneurial or you are being enterprising, you are taking risk, you are taking advantage of opportunities, you are trying to invest here and there and do business here and there. You are also being conscious and cautious so that you are not being reckless. You are not being recklessly entrepreneurial or enterprising, but you are also being careful, being aware of the risks involved in the business. You are able to know what the risk factors are. You know what the risk factors are to look out for, so that you can easily pull back when you realize that it's getting too busy. That's one way of talking about oversight. But it also means that they are able to exercise responsibility when things are not going well. They can just see when things are not going well. They don't bury their head in the sand, and then all the figures are showing that there is a danger ahead, but they keep on moving until they hit the danger ahead. No. Board members are supposed to exercise what we call oversight. Okay, that's oversight. Now, the oversight function also includes the ability to supervise the senior management, to supervise the executive management. So, and because they have enterprise, they know how businesses operate. They know the procedures of business, the processes of business. They know what to expect from senior management. They know how to make sense of the figures. They know how to make sense of the reports that senior management churns out. And so, if the senior management are not doing the right thing, they have the wherewithal to be able to question senior management, to be able to supervise senior management, to be able to keep their eyes on senior management and constantly guide them towards the objectives or the goals, the direction that the organization owners want the organization to go. So that is oversight. So it also means that they serve as a check on senior management. They don't collude with them, or they don't collude with them, or they don't become complicit with them. They don't engage in any form of conspiracy, with senior management to loot the organization. They exercise that due care to just make sure that the senior management are doing exactly what they have been asked to do, what the law or the policies of the organization procedures mandate them and authorizes them or forbids them to do. So now, when you have a board that's like that, then of course, all things being equal, you should expect the organization to succeed. And so what that means is that appointment to these boards will have to be done, or will have to be made based on very serious considerations about expertise of the people who are involved, about the competence of the board members to be selected, about the experience of the board members to be selected, about the pedigree of the board members to be selected. However, on the other hand, when the selection of board is not based seriously on these considerations, but it is based on political considerations, political alignment, of course, political considerations may be an underpinning factor. But we are saying, even if that be that as it may, it's still important that competency or competence issues are considered, expertise issues are considered, experience, the ability to do the job is considered. And often this is where most organizations get it wrong, because the appointment to boards is done on the basis of several other considerations apart from these competencies and so on and so forth. And secondly, most board members are old. They are very, very, very old. They are very old, either people preparing to retire or people who are retired, and most of them don't have the energy. Of course, most of them have long experience, which is good, but it's good if boards involve youthful, members, young members. Because you see, the thing that research shows that most innovations in most organizations come from the young people, young population. But as it stands, most board members are old. Some are retirees, they are tired, they don't have the energy to move the organization forward. So most of them just care how to go for the sitting allowances. You send materials, documents for them to read. Most of them may not even read. They come to board meetings, they may doze off, and so on and so forth. But they get paid the allowances. They come with an entitlement mentality rather than a performance mentality, rather than problem-solving mentality, rather than contributory or contribution mentality, rather than responsibility and accountability mentality. See, so when the board is selected properly, everything is supposed to go well. And when the board exercises vision and oversight and an enterprise, all things being equal, there's no reason why the organization should not succeed. So that's about the board. Now, once the board does their work well, we now come to senior management or executive management or very top management. In most modern organizations, they are no longer headed just by one MD. They have what you call executive team or management team. Okay, it involves the MD, the deputy MD, and a few other people. Some have all kinds of names. Some are called executive managers. Some may be special advisors, and so on and so forth. But they are top management team. Now, top management team works directly under the board to make sure that the decisions that are arrived at the board level, the decisions are carried out. So top management is in charge of the day-to-day running of the organization, day-to-day running of the organization. And they manage the people. They manage the organization's resources. They manage the organization's people. They manage the organization's processes. They manage procedures. They manage the policies. They run with the policies, and so on and so forth. Now, again, if the appointment of this top management goes wrong, if they are appointed on the basis of political consideration, ethnic consideration, and so on and so forth, and other considerations, rather than their competence, rather than their understanding of the business, rather than their expertise and their experience, then of course there is failure by default. There's failure at the very departure point, because you are setting up the organization to fail. But we are all aware of a number of CEOs and MDs that have been appointed, and everybody knows that, well, this shouldn't have been the person, but they got appointed anyway, and so on. We've all seen messes that have been created. In some cases, people are appointing their sons and daughters and families as CEOs of the organization. These people who have never had any experiences, and we have seen the outcomes of these sorts of organizations. Some are high-profile banks, and we've seen what has happened to these banks, and so on and so forth. So the point about competency of senior management it's extremely important. Okay, but once senior management are appointed, they have to know that they now have access to the organization's resources. They have power to make decisions on the behalf of the organization. They determine who comes to work in the organization. And so the recruitment process, the training and development process, the placement decisions, decisions on compensation, decision on termination of appointment, all of these have to be made on the basis of experience, and the basis of expertise, and the basis of rationality, objectivity, so that people would come because we need them. People will be assigned because they have the wherewithal to do the work. And that nobody will be there that will be redundant. Nobody will be there that will be underemployed. So, but what we do have in a number of organizations is underutilization of resources, particularly human resources, where a number of qualified people are there, and for political reasons and for several other things, the people are not made use of. And so the other day I said it's like a beautiful woman who goes out there, a handsome man who goes out there and sees many beautiful women and marries them and just brings them to the house and doesn't really do anything with them, or doesn't do much with them, and goes out again, sees other beautiful women and brings them to the house, and that is it. So these women are not being engaged by their husband, and so they can be there and they'll be flirting with other men, which is wrong, but they do flirt anyway. So, but this can still also be organizational level flirting, where there are expertise, there are competencies, there are experiences, there are knowledge, skillful people, etc., that are very much underemployed, underutilized for several other considerations. And so you can have the best graduates from the best university, and yes, and yet you might still not be realizing your objective. You could go and poach the best performing staff from other institutions, but if you don't manage them well, it's still not going to go well. And so we have seen situations in institutions where appointment decisions, placement decisions are not made solely on the base, are not made largely on the basis of competence, but several considerations are, seem to underpin these decisions. And we have seen what the outcomes of these have been over the years. So at the enterprise level, there has to be competence-based decision making, from who you recruit, how many you recruit, where you place them, what you allow them to do, the assignment you give them to perform, the committees you put them in, the groups you put them in, the teams you put them in, the problems you give them to solve, etc. All of these have to be based on the people's competence. And if we can make the best use of the people's competence, we will realize that we could be doing extremely well. Extremely well. Very, very, very well. Okay. Now, it's important for us to understand that the performance of an organization is based on several factors. So first and foremost, management or leadership in that sense is a topmost factor, because what management does, the management style of the organization will determine what happens in the organization. So the management style gives rise to or produces in the minds of the employees certain mindsets, certain understandings, certain conclusions that the employees draw. What are these conclusions? Conclusions about what type of employer they are working for, how the employer thinks about them, whether the employer has them at heart or doesn't have their interests as heart, and so on and so forth, and therefore whether it is a type of organization to really commit to and be loyal to and give their full commitment, or it's just a place that becomes like a collection center where they can just go and collect whatever entitlements are there, and then they don't give them their full. Sometimes when they are there, they are looking for other places. They are looking for other jobs. And they are working with you. They are taking your salary, but they are looking for other jobs. And they are only looking for the opportunity to go out. That's not the best for you. Right? You need to get the best out of the people. It's very important. So the management style gives rise to certain mindsets in the employees or employee mindsets. Now, these mindsets also give rise to certain employee behaviors. So the employee behavior may be lateness, it may be high productivity, it may be punctuality, it may be commitment, it may be loyalty, or it may be lack of loyalty, it may be disloyalty, it may be low level of engagement or high level of engagement, it might be absenteeism, it might be punctuality, it might be regularity at, regular attendance at work. These employee behaviors are what determine the outcomes that the organization gets. So where management displays the right management style at the very top, this is mimicked at the middle, is mimicked at the bottom, and then it goes through all the operational staff. And so we understand that when the management style is right, how you make use of resources, how you make use of people, how you inspire or motivate, or how you manipulate, or how you intimidate, and how you bring the best out of the people, or how you suppress their gifts or their talents or their ambitions, etc. Whatever at all it is that you do, how you respect or disrespect them, all of these will give rise to employee mindset, which will in turn give rise to certain employee behaviors, and which will determine the outcomes that you get for your organization, whether you'll be successful or you will not be successful. Okay, so that's what happens at the enterprise level. When we manage it well, we manage the resources well, there's no reason why things should not work well. And so when the management style is good at the top, it's, all things being equal, it will be good at the middle and it will be good at the bottom. So it will be good at the middle and it will be good at the very bottom. And some organizations but what happens in some organizations, you have management being very effective at the top, but sometimes at the middle, it is not. At the bottom, it is not. And so sometimes you can blame the top, because sometimes top people, executive management, can really mismanage, or they can micromanage. And the executive management is actually the leadership of the organization. One role, one responsibility of leadership is to allow management, is to enable management to manage properly. So if at the top there's not enough empowerment, there's not sufficient empowerment, what really happens is that you have a lot of people who can do a lot of things, but when all decisions have to be made at the very top, then all the qualified people will fold their arms and be waiting until the top comes to do something. If there's a problem, they say, well, we don't think, we are not supposed to think, we are not supposed to make decisions. Someone has to make a decision. We are here to implement decisions. And so I speak to particularly in public sector organizations. I speak to a number of public sector organizations, ministries, agencies, departments, etc. And then some are disappointed that most decisions are made at the top. And then they just sit there. Some are directors, but they just sit there like dummies, and they can't take decisions until someone says, do this. So most directors are like maid servants or housemaids, right? Houseboys that you order, go and do this. Okay, yes, sir. So they lack the appropriate authority and delegated authority to do things, to take decisions. So they are sitting there. There are problems. They fold their arms. They are waiting for the top to do something. This doesn't happen. And once it happens at the top, it comes to the middle, it comes to the bottom. So everybody sits down until decisions are made at the very top, until problems are solved at the very top. Not many people will take initiative, and so on and so forth. If it's like that, the organization will be starving itself, because there are great people who can do a lot of things. So if you are a leader, if you are at the top, and a lot of low-key decisions are still waiting in your tray, decisions that people under you should have been making, they are waiting in your tray, because you are so busy doing the nitty-gritties of daily operational activities, when you are supposed to be thinking into the future and creating the vision, the future of the organization, thinking about strategic issues. But you are so concerned about the daily nitty-gritties that you don't have time to move the organization forward. And you are frustrating people who work under you, because there are some decisions that are waiting in your tray, if you don't make those decisions, they cannot do anything. So where senior management really empowers those at the very bottom, the middle and the bottom, we realize that enterprise level leadership becomes more effective. It becomes more effective. See, so unfortunately, time will not allow us to continue. So I'm going to pause here. God willing, on Thursday, we will look at public sector organizations. We will look at public sector organizations. We'll look at management, effective leadership in public sector organizations. We'll look at why African public sector organizations, most of them are failing, most of them are inefficient, although they have the highest level of state investment, why they are still failing. But anyway, today we've been talking about enterprise level efficiency or leadership effectiveness at the enterprise level. We looked at the board. We look at senior management. We look at management at all the ranks in the organization. We look at the relationship and interrelationship between these entities. We realize that the board will have to exercise vision and exercise enterprise and exercise oversight. We realize that the senior management are supposed to work hand in hand with the board and then move the organization to its future direction, and that the senior management have access to organizations' resources, they have access to organizations' people, they have access to the processes, the systems, the technology, the material or the fiscal resources. They have access to everything, an organization's power and authority to make decisions, to solve problems on behalf of the organization. But to combine all these resources at their disposal in order to realize the goal of the organization. Now, if they do it well and they don't base these decisions about who to assign, who to give responsibility, if they don't base these decisions solely on political and ethnic and religious and other considerations, but they allow objectivity, they allow people's competence and experience and expertise and passion to determine these decisions, then the organization becomes more effective. They can more effectively realize their goals. And that management style is what determines everything. So when the style is good, then employees form certain mindsets, opinions about the organization, and then they therefore give rise to certain behaviors which will determine the outcomes that the organization realizes. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for paying attention. And I would like to entreat you to continually let me have your comments. And if there are areas you want treated, let me know. Of course, I've received some good feedback from some of you. So please do feel free and share these sessions, share these presentations while the free sessions last. Remember, these sessions are based on the book authored by Samuel Tenge on leadership stripped bare. So please do grab your copy. Many people are grabbing their copies and they are finding it very, very, very useful. Some universities in Ghana and abroad are already using the book and so on and so forth. And I'm very proud to say that even the directors in some of the one of the three arms of government in Ghana, they're using the book already for their leadership development program. So feel free to get a copy of the book. Now, if you want a copy of the book, it is if you are calling from outside Ghana, it is +233 55 967 1076. I repeat, +233 55 967 1076. That's how you get the book. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Finally, remember, when we learn, we change. When we change in three ways. We either stop some habits that are not right, or we develop new ones that we have found to be correct, or we strengthen existing ones that have been reinforced, that we have understood are correct. So you either stop, start, or strengthen certain habits, and so on. So please do change, do discard some habits, develop new competencies, and strengthen existing ones that are good. I hope to come your way again on Thursday, and then we can talk about leadership in the public sector organizations in African context. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you. Please share the videos, invite your friends to do a watch party, and so on and so forth. Thank you. Bye.